Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ally from the Attic. Welcome to Piedmont Trails. This is where all the action comes together in the attic, and I must say that the desk is a mess this evening. I have maps laid out, all kinds of land deeds, various different materials I've got laid out in the attic this evening due to the amount of research and discoveries that were made throughout this week. But I want to welcome everyone. Welcome to Live from the Attic. Say hi to me. Let me know that you are here with me. Tell me where you're from. And I'm going to get started with tonight's session. It is June 13th, 2021. And welcome to the Live from the Attic. Um, I have been working on, like I said, land deeds and creating a map to actually plot out certain particular parcels of land that I am deeply interested in due to two various projects, but one mainly stemming from the Great Wagon Road Project. And I've created maps like this before, all during the years past. And some have been hand done, and some have been computer generated using specific software. But this map is different as I'm only concentrating on certain particular parcels of land, which I stated, and these are prior to 1770. They all are stemming from Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, portions of West Virginia into North Carolina and South Carolina, and small portion of Georgia as well. There are several free mapping formats that are available today, and I encourage each and every one of you to not be intimidated by creating your own map. There are all types of formats that will help guide you into doing this. And creating your own personal maps is a great resource tool and reference for you whenever you are researching your family genealogy or with a history project. They very well come in handy, I must say. So use your search tools to find the best one that works for you. And there are, like I said, there are all different types. Um, the colonial surveyor, back during this time period of which I've been researching, measured distance and direction to equal acreage of land. And this was used on all of the surveys during the colonial period. You will find, if you pull up old deeds and old land grants, you're going to find specific words that may not become familiar to you, but they are words like chain and pole and rod, which represent a particular measurement. These are actual measurement tools that these surveyors use to create the survey maps and to plot the land. Um, the chain measures 66 feet or 100 links. There's 100 links per chain. Each link is equal to 0.66 feet. And majority of early North Carolina parcels use the chain as reference points. And in all of the land deeds that I have been looking through all this week, they all have that word chain. 74 chains, 54 chains, 24 chains. So this gives you an exact measurement of what the chains mean. You multiply the chain number by 66 to determine the feet in question, and that will give you today's measurements in feet. A reference to a rod or a pole is equivalent to 16.5 feet or 16 and a half feet. Each rod has 25 links. 4 rods or poles are equal to 66 feet. A quarter of a mile is equal to 20 chains or 80 poles or rods. A half a mile is equal to 40 chains. And then a mile is equal to 80 chains or 5,280 feet. In the old days, I would use graph paper. And graph paper is still, I still highly recommend using that. And I still refer back to my old maps, making my old maps that I used graph paper with. I still refer back to them. I keep them on file from many, many years ago, and I still refer back to some of those notes using graph paper. And it's a good way to get started whenever you're creating maps. And you can find graph paper software or formats to use free online, and you can experiment with it and see how it works for you. Okay, I encourage you to do that. But by using graph paper, you can determine the visual of a parcel and how it's laid out, what the shape of it is. Then by using the descriptions on the deed, you can pinpoint the location in present day. Don't think that this is too much to grasp, because it's not. It's not too much to grasp or to take in or to understand. But I will say this: it does require a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It is time consuming work, but the rewards are well worth it in the end. They really are. You can do this, and it will greatly enhance your research and may even offer more clues and hints as well. And each time that I've used this technique and going back into land deeds and going back and researching them, I have always gained more clues and hints due to not so much from the deed itself, but the by finding and locating and identifying the location. And due to that, learning more about that exact location and what occurred there, who lived there, then I could gain more history from that area, and that led me to more clues and hints to my ancestors. Determining the exact location of your ancestor opens the door to an entire new world, and it really, really does. And I encourage all of you to try that. Don't be intimidated by creating your own map. The plat maps or surveys, they link many old deeds and land grants I'm sorry, I'm reading from my notes. Also guide you to the present day location. Majority of these, now some of these surveys, plat maps did not survive. And it greatly depends on the location of where it was and the time period in which the survey was created and so forth. But if you happen to run across a survey plat map dated from the colonial period prior to the American Revolutionary War that has survived, you've got a treasure in your hand. And it is a timepiece. It's priceless. And what information you can gain from that actual survey will lead you in many, many different directions to more clues and hints with your research. Be sure to look for these. Don't disregard them, and don't think for a second that, okay, maybe they don't exist. I found the land grant, but I didn't see nothing attached to it. There's no survey, so maybe there's not a plat map with it. Don't take that for granted. Look a little deeper and double check and make sure. They get separated. They're not always together. They're not always on the same paper. So take time out to look. This week, so my efforts have been concentrated mainly on these early roads, North Carolina, going and dealing with all of these hundreds of land deeds that I've been pulling up and going through, and mainly concentrating on the Trader's Path and the Great Wagon Road, primarily, with some data in reference to the King's Highway as well. Before 1750, North Carolina had 3 main roads. And let me say that again. Before 1750, North Carolina had 3 main roads. Now, there were other smaller routes, and that is for sure, and that has been proven, but they all connect to these somehow, in some way, in some form. These other routes connect to one of these 3 main roads. Okay? Using the land deeds of the time period, I'm able to trace these roads. And this has been a long passion of mine in researching the roads. And I'm going to go into detail tonight in the reasoning why this has been so important to me from years back. I'm able to not only plot a map with these parcels of these properties that I've been working on this week, but I'm able to also pinpoint the early roads. A discovery during this week has brought the original track of the Great Wagon Road into full view from Virginia to the Yadkin River. This wants me to just get up and jump up and down. I want to scream, say, look what we found. This treasure is priceless. It is priceless material, and it amazes me as I sit back here this evening and I wonder why no one before me has discovered this, and maybe, I'd like to think that someone has discovered it, and maybe they've written it down in their notes and their documentations, just hasn't been found, or maybe someone has it in their possession and they've not relinquished the information. But it is historical. It is a timepiece that is just, I'm amazed. I'm just simply amazed. Um, I'm also amazed that the documents still exist. And what we found, like I said, is priceless. And discovering it in the most unlikely of places is what is the other astonishing point about it. If I've said this 100 times, I've said genealogy and history are all around us, and they are. All we have to do is just simply look, and sometimes look in the right places. Um, did you know that colonial roads were the most important link to the outside world? The old roads were the communication tool for daily, everyday life. Our ancestors traveled. They engaged with business opportunities. They held public office. They voted. They attended meetings. They attended church services. They organized schools. None of these things would be possible without connecting a link, and a connecting link. And that link is the old roads. Using the roads, you can connect to your ancestors leaving Maryland using the upper road through Virginia, and then trace their steps into present-day Guilford County, North Carolina. A family leaving Camden, South Carolina, traveling west and north along the remnants of the Kiowee Trail to settle in Washington County, Tennessee. Roads allowed trade, businesses to prosper, communities to grow. They allowed everyday life to carry on. Not too long ago, I was speaking. I forget where I was, what I was doing, but I just remember the statement that was made to me. And there was a person in the audience that asked me, said, Carol, my ancestors, they just didn't travel anywhere. It's understood that our colonial families did not travel, and it was rare for them to travel. This is not true. They lived life differently from what we do today, but they definitely traveled. They had to. It was part of their daily life. Don't think that colonial families didn't travel. They did, and often. The maintenance and conditions of these roads could mean life or death to many colonial travelers. And not only that, but it could mean prosperity, or it could mean the loss of property, not being able to pay the taxes or pay bills that are due. It meant life for them, for people. It meant their lives. North Carolina is home to the longest plank road in the United States. How many of you all knew that? It was completed October 28th, 1854, and it marks the date of the final plank installed. It reached from Fayetteville to Salem. It was a distance covering about 130 miles, give or take. And it was covered completely with flat wooden planks, named the Fayetteville and Western Road, or the Plank Road, or the Pioneer Road. It received financial assistance from the state of North Carolina, and it followed the Cape Fear Road. This is just an example of how one road can change its name from one time period to another time period. This road, the Cape Fear Road, began its origins just right after the Moravians arrived in Forsyth County, North Carolina, soon after, around the time period of between 1755 and 1760. And why was the road created? Why was it so important to create the Cape Fear Road? Where did it come from? Whose idea was it? It was due to the overwhelming amount of families arriving to the Piedmont area of North Carolina. It was due to the Great Migration. That was the result of creating the Cape Fear Road. All states have road history. It doesn't matter which state. They all have road history. And they can be traced, each one of these roads can be traced back to your ancestors. Thigpen's Trace comes to mind for me as one of the first roads to appear in North Carolina. And it can still be found, remnants of it can still be found today. As you research these early state roads, you will see a theme starting to appear. And you'll soon discover that how money and wealth and politics play a major role with the future of these roads. And that's not just in one area, that's in every area. You will be completely, some of them, a great many of the original roads will completely be altered and forever changed, only to meet a certain agenda, to progress in another area versus one area, or for an important element to a populace of people. That's a lot to take in. Now, I hope that you can understand a little bit of why early roads have always been so important with me and my personal genealogy research. I can't remember the first time that I heard the mention of the Great Wagon Road. I think if I remember correctly, it came from my grandfather on my father's side, of him reciting the story to me of how our ancestors came down the Great Wagon Road through the he claimed it was through the Patrick County area of Virginia and settled along near the hollow near Ararat River and near Mount Airy of Surrey County. But ever since then, I have just been mesmerized by roads and how much of an influence they had on not only our colonial ancestors, but in our 19th century ancestors, moving forward through the Civil War and afterwards, moving forward to the beginning of the 20th century, moving forward through the Great Depression. It's amazing how these roads affected our ancestors' lives. It really is. This past week, Great Wagon Road Project changed history, like I said, as the original route surfaced from long ago. Don't worry. Don't worry. I will share more about this with you all very soon. I'm just so excited, and it just still amazes me how the documents, they were there, and they've survived, and it's just concrete proof of where this original road went through, and that it did survive. It was road before 1750. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm also completing. I've completed my groundwork for the Oldfield Creek area, in which I talked about last week. I finished that, and that was amazing. And I'm hoping to have a article on Piedmont Trails very soon about some of the people who were living along Oldfield Creek area. This is in present-day Stokes County, along Easley Road, Brook Cove Road, the area of Rosebud. This is the area a little bit west and not west, but a little bit east of present-day Germantown and the Town Fork settlement. So I'm hoping that I'll get all my notes compiled up, and I'll be sharing it with an article with you guys soon. I'm also preparing my segment and doing the final stages with it for the next podcast show, which will air on this coming Thursday, I think. And the title of it is The North Carolina Native American Villages of 1752. And these Native American villages only resided in North Carolina, and I am going to be really focused on these names and who the people are. Their history is so important to preserve. I mentioned several sources last week, and I hope you are finding some of those useful with your research. I do have a little bit of news that I'm going to share with you real quick. If you we're getting closer to the release of the 1950 census, yay! It's scheduled to release April 2022. If you want to find out even more details about the release before they actually do it, I urge you all to visit archives.gov. That's archives.gov, and they will provide you a lot of details of how this is going to happen with the release of the 1950 census. Also, the State Historical Society of Missouri just added over 300,000 pages to their digital archives this past week, which includes areas of Madison, Callaway, Worth, Jefferson, and more. There are many more areas too. The time frame spans from 1860 to 1946. I mean, that's a huge time frame. Just think of the amount of history and genealogy that stems from just that data alone. If you want to learn more about this huge addition of digital records, visit shsmo.org and then click on the Missouri Digital Newspaper Project. Okay, and it is free to use, it is free to search. Also, the Burnsville Historical Society, which is located in Minnesota, they recently launched an online gallery featuring photos, and this is really neat. But they are featuring photos from, calling it From Then to Now. And this just speaks volumes about landscape changes and from the past to the present, and it gives you a different perspective when researching. Visit burnsvillehistory.org and then click on the Then and Now image sliders. Oh, you'll enjoy it. It's amazing to look at those photos of Minnesota all through the years, and they'll have a then on the top, and then right below it, it'll be the exact same area of now. It's amazing how the landscapes change. And a great resource for Quaker records on a national level. I just want to share this. I've had a lot of emails recently about Quaker research. I don't know why, but a great starting point for this is the Encyclopedia of American Quaker Genealogy. It was originally a 6-volume set. A few years later, they added another volume for volume 7. It is by William Wade Henshaw, and this is a great starting point for Quaker genealogy. You can find this set online, free to use, at Hathi Trust Digital Library. You can find the whole complete set there, free to use. Okay. Also, and I was very excited to find this out, Deed Book A. Deed Book A of Washington County, Tennessee. It records the first land purchased, dated March 19th of 1775 in Washington County, Tennessee. This book has been located at the Tennessee State Library and Archives in Nashville for years. The book was originally sent to them way back in 1897 as part of the Tennessee Centennial and International Exposition. But the book is now located in Jonesboro. And if I'm not mistaken, that book arrived there this past week. That's exciting news, and it's back where it belongs. So that is great news. I was excited to hear about that. And also, during the past year, many more people are exploring the past, and the growth of new memberships to genealogical and historical societies have grown significantly. I have had many genealogy societies, especially genealogy societies, to contact me, and remark about the membership growth that they've had during this past year, and that is great. That is what it's all about. Share it and spread the word. Look into the genealogical societies and pick one that you like, and one that holds an interest with you and connects with you in your research, and join it. I encourage everyone to do that. Join the ones that you like. All right. I don't see any comment. I just want to make sure there's no comments here. Okay, we're good. I want to thank you all so much for joining me this evening. And I'm not worried about participation. This is a learning curve. We're going to learn as we go. I love using this format with you two, and we're going to stick with this. So I'm looking forward to watching this grow. And I will see you all next Sunday at 8 p.m. And until then, enjoy your journey to the past. And God bless.